Hi everybody, my name is Victoria. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am bringing you my winter book haul, and I defined winter by December, January, and February. So all of these books were acquired within those 3 months. And let's just jump in. The first book that I have to show you is actually one that I read and forgot to talk about in my wrap-up recently last week. And oops, I don't know how I forgot to talk about this book, because I did enjoy it, but I think I didn't write it in my reading journal, and I was looking at my reading journal instead of looking at my Goodreads and Storygraph. If I had looked at my Goodreads, I would have seen, oh yeah, I also need to talk about that book. So I accidentally forgot about it, but I did read it, and this was Babylonia by Costanza Casati. This is a look at ancient Assyria, and it is fictional. And it specifically follows a queen of legend named Semiramis, and it is about her rise to becoming a queen. You kind of know that she becomes a queen, but it's all about her journey getting there. And you also see the brutality of this ancient Assyrian world, and all of the political maneuverings. I would say overall, this is an extremely politically heavy book, like political intrigue. So if you like that kind of thing, this will be a good read for you. And then it's very, like, you know, kind of feminism in an age where feminism didn't really exist. So it's got kind of that theme going on as well. But I did enjoy it. I guess I'm gonna kind of review it right now. I enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. I did the audiobook for this one actually, and I do recommend the audio. I thought it was very well presented and well read. So sorry for the footprints, or Dusty walking around, who is coming to check out what we're doing. But yeah, this was my book of the month for the month of January, and so I actually read one on time. That was cool. I almost never read book of the month when I mean to, and I was able to get to this one. So yeah, it's good. It's well written. I think there were some, there were some character dynamics that I thought like just went on too long. It is also about this kind of, there's sort of a love triangle thing happening, and yeah, you just have to, I guess, read it to find out. But I didn't love it. I did not love it. And I felt like maybe we could have done without it and still had an interesting story. But I think at one point the love triangle becomes very much the center of the story. And while some of those dynamics were interesting, I could have done without it. But overall, though, I thought this was a good historical fiction read. I better move on, because I have a lot of other books to show you, and if I just review this book the whole time, then we will never get to the other ones. But this is also, I do like this cover. I saw another cover that I think is the UK cover. I actually think I like the American cover the best. But yes, Babylonia, I did read it, so there's that one. Okay, since we're on the topic of book of the month, I'm just gonna stick to those. I actually got another January book of the month that I haven't read yet, and that was Andromeda by Therese Bohman. And this is a short thing, so I would love to get to this before the year's out. But this is more of a literary fiction, and obviously it was hard for me to pass it up with a cover like that. I was like, I don't even care what it's about, but that's the cover. So complete cover by it. Don't really know much about this, and haven't heard people talk about it too much. It's about, I think, the publishing industry. It's a young editor develops a close bond with her boss in the shrewd novel about the tension between tradition and modernity, and expectations and reality. So there's a publishing house in Stockholm. To sort of paint the picture, I'm wondering if this is like maybe a kind of off limits relationship, like boss and employee type of thing. It is very short. I think it's classified as literary fiction, so a little bit outside of my wheelhouse, to be honest. But we'll see. Yeah, I am intrigued. I am intrigued. And with a cover like that, kind of how could you not be if you love books? I just think that's a really nice cover. Okay, so those are my January book of the month. We'll just stick to book of the month for the moment. Let's see, February book of the month. I am currently reading First Time Caller by B.K. Borison, and I picked this up because of the also cover by kind of situation. The bubblegum cover is just giving me life. This just is like so happy. I look at this book cover and I am happy. It's the color scheme, I swear. But this also intrigued me with the premise. It is a sort of Sleepless in Seattle kind of premise. And so at first I was kind of like, it's too much of a ripoff of Sleepless in Seattle. But now that I've started it, I like it. And it is different. So basically he is a talk show radio host, and specifically one sort of about like love advice, like people call in asking for dating advice or relationship advice in general. And then her daughter calls in on her behalf, and she finds out that her daughter's on the phone with this guy, and then she ends up talking to him, and so they have this conversation at the beginning of the novel, and it goes from there. And so far I've liked it. It's got some good kind of quippy humor and dialogue. So far dialogue is pretty good. So yeah, I am just hoping this will make me have all the warm and fuzzy feelings that I want from a contemporary romance. I haven't read a contemporary romance in a hot minute, so I'm hoping this one is good. It's long. It's kind of a chunky one, so I'm like, ugh. Sometimes you don't want contemporary romance to be long. It's not as long as I thought. It's like slightly over 400 pages. But for contemporary romance, it's on the longer side. So we're hoping that I will like this all the way through. So far, so good. I need to pick it up again because I've put it down for like a week or so. And I'm going to forget what happens if I don't keep reading it. Also, is this my last? Oh no, I have more book of the month. Oh, from December. We're going to go backwards. Well, one more from my February book of the month box, and that was Blackwood's Blue Sky by Eowyn Ivey, I think is how you pronounce the name. This sounds really dark and mysterious and perhaps whimsical, and with the romance also at the center. I almost didn't pick this one up, but I saw some reviews and also about other people that liked another book by her. I think she had another book that maybe won an award. Can't remember exactly. But that convinced me to give this one a go. So also the other thing that got me was a dark fairy tale retelling set in Alaska. And so I was like, maybe. When I read the first, like page or so, and I wasn't hooked, but the synopsis made me try it again. So I did pick this one up. I think it's actually a Beauty and the Beast retelling, sort of. And yeah, so definitely like a very wintry book. I feel like I need to read this in the winter. But yeah, I also haven't seen anyone review it like on BookTube or anything yet. So I'm interested. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, other book of the month. So December, I have just a couple more to show you. This was from December. And also I got apparently I keep getting 2 books in every box, which is not helping my TBR problem, but that's okay. Homeseeking by Karissa Chen. And so this one I think is a historical fiction also, and it's or kind of both. I think there's a current timeline and also a timeline from the past, and it is, I think, a sad one too. It's about, let's see, Highwind is buying bananas at a 99 ranch market in Los Angeles. I'm familiar with those. We have 99 ranch markets where I live. I'm not too far from LA. Anyways, that's not what we're talking about. When he looks up and sees Suchi, his Suchi, for the first time in 60 years. To recently widowed Haiwen, it feels like a second chance, but Suchi has only survived by refusing to look back. So it sounds like they grew up together and probably went through some trauma together, lived through some traumatic times, and then they find each other again years later in their older age. So I'm interested. That sounds like a setup that I'm gonna like. So yeah, I hear it's sad, I think. That's all I know. Oh, and also there's a violin. There's a violin. So, you know, sign me up. Okay. The last book of the month that I'm going to show you is The 13th Child by Erin A. Craig. I have seen some other like YA books, YA fantasy books by this author and heard good things. So it made me want to pick this up. And I've also heard, at this point, I have seen other reviews of this and I have not heard a negative one. Everybody seems to really like this. Also, very dark, creepy cover. I love it. Hazel Trepas has always known she wasn't like her siblings. A 13th child promised to one of the gods. She spends her childhood waiting for her benefactor, Merrick, the god of death, to arrive and take her away. When he does, he lays out exactly what he's planned for Hazel's future. She will become a great and celebrated healer. To aid her endeavors, Merrick blesses Hazel with a gift, the ability to instantly deduce the exact cure needed to treat the sick. But all gifts come with a price. Dun, dun, dun. Of course. So, yeah, I've seen only good reviews for this. So, also a chunky one, but when I'm in the mood for something a little dark, fantasy, is it YA? I'm not sure it's YA. It might be YA. Not sure. What was the other book? Oh, I think, oh yeah, House of Salt and Sorrows, Small Favors, and House of Roots and Ruin. Yes, I had heard also good things about those things, so that made me want to pick this one up. I'm trying to be picky with my book of the month choices because I think sometimes I can pick things that once I look into them, I'm like, no. So I am trying to be more picky and make sure like I'm picking books that also like have pretty good reviews from people I trust already. So this is one of them. Okay. Enough of book of the month. Let's go to some December Christmas gifts that I got. So first, I will show you Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. I've been really interested in this series for a long time, and Dia kindly gifted this to me for the holidays. So thank you so much, Dia. So generous and so kind. I do not deserve such generous friends, and I am so grateful for you. But this I have heard of, and it's been on my radar for a while. I think this is kind of a lighter, maybe on the like the cozy fantasy side, and also historical fantasy, I think. So it says, it's difficult to find a husband in Regency England when you're a young lady with only half a soul. Ever since she was cursed by a fairy, Theodora Eddings has had no sense of fear or embarrassment, an unfortunate condition that leaves her prone to accidental scandal. Dora hopes to be a quiet, sensible wallflower during the London season, but when Elias Wilder, the handsome, peculiar, and utterly ill-mannered Lord Sorcier, I don't know, discovers her condition, she is instead drawn into dangerous fairy affairs. Say no more. Or what do the kids say nowadays? Say less. Say less. That sounds perfect. Regency England, fairies, magic, cute guys. Of course, yes, all of those things. So I'm excited about that. How is that? How is that for a little bit of book hype? It sounds so good. Okay, next up, I also received from my family, they got me a few things from my Amazon wish list. So they got me The Bear and the Nightingale, which is a series I've had my eye on for so long, by Katherine Arden. This is a Russian winter, Russian wilderness fairy tale. I think there's also magic in this. I honestly don't know a ton, but I've heard a lot of good things, like people proclaiming this their favorite series. Bailey, what are you doing? She is smelling the books and possibly trying to lick them. It's the used books. She smells some good scents on the used books. Okay, moving on from The Bear and the Nightingale. I would love to start that sometime in the near future. Of course, I will say that about every book, but will I start them in the near future? Probably not, because there's not enough time. Last Christmas present I will show you was this stunner, Eragon, the illustrated series by Christopher Paolini. Look at that. I have had my eye on this for a long time. I'm loving this like rehashing of illustrated series. I'm devastated that they've stopped doing the Harry Potter ones. They made it through like book 5. I don't think they're going to do a 6 and 7. So sad. Maybe someone will someday, but we're loving this. I hope they do more of these. Maybe they haven't, I just don't know about it. But yeah, a gorgeous illustrated edition of Eragon. I am a little bit spoiled by the Harry Potter ones because I was kind of looking through and I was like, you know what? There's not enough pictures. Like the pictures that are in here are really nice, but I was kind of hoping there would be a little bit more of the illustration side of it, but that's okay. It is still a lovely, lovely book. So I'm excited to revisit Eragon with that sometime. I haven't reread that series in so long, so I would like to revisit it, and that would be a good way to do it. Also, something I picked up in December but haven't read yet is Wind of Truth by Brandon Sanderson. I am very slowly rereading the books that came before this, but it's taking me an actual eternity. So someday, maybe next year, I don't think I'm going to get to this even this year, to be honest, because my TBR and reading plate is so full and I'm just still trying to reread. So I do, I am thrilled to get to this someday being maybe next year. So don't be surprised if I don't get to this in the year 2025, but I will. It will be waiting for me. I just have to make sure I don't die before I read this. I have to try to stay alive that long. So yeah, I'm hearing mixed things. About this. So I'm hoping it will land well for me. But oh my goodness, I can't open it because I don't want to get spoiled. But yeah, loving the cover too. I do think that this cover is a good one. And what I love about these American ones is that they kind of harken back to like old school fantasy covers where you did see people on the covers. I feel like we don't get that so much, or if it is people on the covers, they're sort of in this like artsy way. Like I'm talking about like the European covers, the UK covers, excuse me. The UK covers of this are like more artsy, and while they look really good and they're like that black and white thing, I have to say, give me a good colored illustration with like a little bit more reality to it. I love it. It reminds me, I know what I'm thinking of. It reminds me of the Wheel of Time old covers, and so I kind of love that look with the older fantasy and like the mass market paperbacks. I love that. I'm getting tongue-tied, so we better go to the next book. Okay, everything else that I have to show you is from a used bookstore. I have this lovely little used bookstore that's up the street, and it's really close to my son's daycare. And so sometimes before I go pick him up, I go in the shop and I rate it. I'm going to try to go in there like every season. So I always have a little book haul from there. I just like to support them too, because it's just this old lady who runs it, and she's just the sweetest old lady. And I want her to like stay there. I want her shop to make it. So I am a frequent patron of that shop. It's just the most charming shop. It has like wall-to-wall books all over the place, and it does feel a little bit cluttered, and then the rows are narrow, but like for a book enthusiast, that is the way to browse. You just have like so many things to browse, and it's super fun to go in there. So anyways, into the books. I picked up from that shop. I have My Utmost for His Highest by Oswald Chambers. And I think I've heard some of my close friends here on BookTube talk about Oswald Chambers and this book specifically. Maybe have I heard Tiffany talk about this one, or Dia? I might have. Yeah, this looks like actually a day-to-day, what do you call it? Devotional. So there's different, verses, Bible verses, and then a little paragraph or two about each one. There's a page for each one. And so I think I could probably just jump into this at any point and start on whatever day I'm on and go from there. So maybe I'll try to incorporate that into my daily Bible reading. And so there's that. Next step, completely different, is The Sword of Shannara by Terry Brooks. I accidentally realized that, well, I didn't accidentally realize, but I realized that I accidentally excuse me, the used books are dusty. I realized that I accidentally have this on Kindle also. So I now have a physical mass market paperback and a Kindle version. So I have options, but this is the beginning of a big epic adult fantasy series, older fantasy series too. I know very little other than adult epic fantasy, older Terry Brooks. I get him confused with another Terry. There's another Terry who writes adult fantasy, epic fantasy. Who is that Terry? You will probably all tell me in the comments, but there's another Terry and I can't remember. One of them is more problematic than the other. I don't think it's this one. I think it's the other one. You know what I'm talking about? Anyone? I'm sure you will tell me. Moving right along. Let's go to this one. So I actually have a whole bunch of these Barnes & Noble classics collections of different things. And so I saw this one in pretty good condition and I picked it up while knowing pretty much nothing about this classic. This is Tom Jones by Henry Fielding. I think I've heard of it, but I don't really know anything about it other than it's English. And it might be, from the cover, I'm thinking like Enlightenment era, perhaps. 1749. Okay, so there we go. England, 1749. Oh, that's interesting. Soon after its 1749 publication, Tom Jones was condemned for being lewd and even blamed for several earthquakes. But what really riled critics was its supremely funny satirical attack on 18th century British society and its follies and hypocrisies, which of course are very much like our own. Say less. I will totally read that. That sounds great. Blamed for earthquakes. We love it. That sounds like a really interesting history that I'm going to have to look into more. But let me know if you have any experience with Tom Jones. He looks like he might be a scoundrel. Just saying. All right, so glad to add that to my Barnes & Noble collection. I like these ones because they're quite floppy and they're nice, especially if you have a bigger book. Like my Middlemarch copy is of the Barnes & Noble editions. They're just kind of nice. They're just kind of nice. They sit open really well and they're floppy, and we love a floppy book around these parts. Okay, we're getting down to the last three. So here we go. Cold Mountain by Charles Frazier. It's one I've heard of for a long time. It's a National Book Award winner. So what could go wrong? I think I've also heard perhaps Dia talk very highly about this book. Do I know what it's about? War. I think there's war. Let's see. Sorely wounded and fatally disillusioned in the fighting at Petersburg. Inman? A Confederate soldier decides to walk back to his home in the Blue Ridge Mountains to Ada, the woman he loved there years before. This is what I get for trying to read the back of a book. Okay. American Odyssey. Cold Mountain asserts itself as an authentic American Odyssey, hugely powerful, majestically lovely, and keenly moving. There you have it. I've heard good things. Let's give it a go. Cold Mountain. That's all I have to say about that. And then also another book that I just realized both of these books I think I have on Kindle. Oops. That's okay. Now we have a physical copy too. So if I love a book, I want it in every possible media. So we also have this physical. This is Kitteridge by Elizabeth Strout. This is a winner of the Pulitzer Prize. I think I was just like pulling things that had winner on them. I was like, that must be good. But I have also heard about this on like different lists of like best books. Sometimes this shows up on lists of like best books of the century or like 100 books you need to read before you die. I have seen this pop up in a few of those places. Let's see. She's a retired school teacher. We love that. As a school teacher myself, she deplores the changes in her little town of Crosby, Maine, and in the world at large, but she doesn't always recognize the changes in those around her. A lounge musician haunted by a past romance. A former student who has lost the will to live. Olive's own adult child who feels tyrannized by her irrational sensitivities. And her husband, Henry, who finds his loyalty to his marriage both a blessing and a curse. So perhaps she's a difficult person. Perhaps. I'm getting that vibe. As the townspeople grapple with their problems, mild and dire, all of it is brought to a deeper understanding of herself and her life, sometimes painfully, but always with a ruthless honesty. Okay, so this sounds like a very much character study, in-depth character study of Olive and the people around her. It's not very long. It's a short one. 300 pages. As a fantasy reader, 300 pages is very short. So yes, Olive Kitteridge adding to my collection. We have made it to the last one. The last book that I will show you is one that I sort of took a risk on. I actually like put it down in the bookstore and then I like kept browsing and then I came back for it. And that is A Voice in the Wind by Francine Rivers. I wasn't sure I wanted to also pick this one up because I have not actually read Francine Rivers yet, but I have another by her. I have Redeeming Love, which is I think kind of her like big blockbuster one that a lot of people have read. So I was like, I still think I might want to start with that one, but this is also highly recommended by Francine Rivers fans, and this is the beginning of a series. And she is a Christian author, Christian fiction, which surprisingly, being a Christian, I actually have not read a lot of Christian fiction. I just haven't. So I do want to dip my toes into that and see if I like it. So I have some options now. Actually, they are starting to accumulate. So I really should try one of them soon. I got to give it a shot. I think I've been a little worried that I won't like Christian fiction because of just like things that I've heard about sometimes like the quality of the writing, or like I think sometimes they can come off as cheesy, and I don't want that either. I get turned off pretty quickly by cheesy. Well, it depends what it is. I shouldn't just say that. That depends, but it depends. Sometimes things are supposed to be cheesy, like contemporary romance. Okay, so that is it. That is the last book I have to show you. I hope you enjoyed my book haul, and I would love to know if you've read any of these, or if you are excited to see that I've hauled any of these, and if there's any that you really want me to get to sooner rather than later. I still can't promise I'll get to it soon, but I would love to know if you're excited about any of these books too. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. You can look for other places to follow me down below in the description. And also, I would appreciate it if you would like to follow me in the future, if you would subscribe to the channel and also hit the like button. It does give me a little boost in the all-knowing algorithm. Thank you again for watching today, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, bye-bye.